Thank you so much for coming to Sarita Talks, for coming back with us in 2026. It's going to be a rock and roll hoochie coo kind of year. We're going to get it going right now with three awesome guests. We've got Robert Peoples, we've got Sherry Marsden, and we've got Dave Lusick. Now, he has been on the show before, so it's always great to have somebody come back to tell us what's going on, to share with us what's going on in the reentry world. And, if you notice what the show is called, excuse me, what the show is titled, Justice Isn't a Luxury, It's a Right. So tell us about it, Dave, Sherry, and Robert. Thank you for coming on.
All right. I just want to say that I'm happy to have Robert as part of the legal team. Um, is there background? Does Robert need to mute this?
I think Robert does need to mute.
Yeah. Do we? Okay. Is that?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about Legal Eagles.
Yeah. So Robert is our newest addition here. He's currently in a halfway house, but we're waiting for approval to get him moved in to one of our rooms at Legal Eagles. And he's going to have his own office, and he's going to receive employment and hopefully fast track his way back into society.
Absolutely.
And Sherry, my longtime assistant, she's coming back from a medical issue, a hiatus, and she's going to be working hand in glove with Robert. And I have a new book. I have a book that's republished and rebranded.
Okay.
And I just wanted to plug that shamelessly. So
you go right ahead. And what is it called? Where to find a
pro bono attorney. And it's been revamped and it's been updated and there's new information and the cost has been reduced.
Okay. Well, tell us about cost and where we can find the book.
The book is available on all the major retailers and Writers Rebranding is the publisher. We reduced the cost to $39.99.
Okay, great. So how are your sales?
It was originally $99.
Okay, well, that's a steep price discount. So go out and get the book today. Now, tell me, the book is based on Legal Eagles, correct? And which your work you're doing there.
Yeah, it's based on all the connections and networking we've made in the last 5 years. The proof is in the book. All the people we've met, the attorneys, the private investigators, the organizations, the innocence projects, law schools, everything is in the book for somebody who is incarcerated and needs an attorney, but also if you're just a regular citizen and you don't or can't afford the high cost of an attorney, you may be able to find help inside the book.
Now, how many instances do you get of individuals who didn't think they could afford an attorney and then they find you?
In Philadelphia, it's, believe it or not, it's common practice that everyday citizens represent themselves in their cases. In the criminal world, you are entitled to public defender, but in the civil world, you have to pay for your own attorney or represent yourself.
So when you're doing a civil litigation, how often do you run into people who are basically in survival mode and they need you? Because civil is also encompasses your children, correct?
Right, and it encompasses everything: landlord, tenant, family, court, everything in between. And we get calls from people all the time. They may be involved. There's a death in the family and there's an estate without a will, and they need to get their fair share, or they're being ejected from their properties. We have clients that are, I have a client right now who's homeless. He's been ejected from his property. He lived there all his life. And his mother and father passed away, and then it became a sibling rivalry, and he's gotten the short end of the stick. So, yeah, I mean, there's a great need for people to get some type of help navigating the system. And that's what we try to do is, give them a map, to find their way through the maze of representing themselves or putting them in touch with an attorney that can take on the case.
Right. So how long does a client typically have to wait before they're able to come and use the services? Do you have a wait list?
Well, we have an intake system set up, and that's where Sherry and Robert come in. They're taking some of the workload off of me right now, answering phones, sending out the digital intake forms, talking to the clients, follow ups, setting up in house appointments, Zoom meetings, all that kind of stuff. Takes time and effort.
Nice, nice. So Robert, me and you were talking a little bit. You're the newest addition to the team, correct?
Correct. Yes, I am. I'm
Yes.
very grateful for the opportunity. Um, being formerly incarcerated is, especially with an extensive amount of time, that I did the 21 years. A lot of people don't want to hire you, so
No.
you have that struggle, um, filling out application after application, um, and the problem being is that there's that gap from the last job that you held until the job that you hold now. Now, a lot of times in that gap, you might be able to do something in the prison that, like, I worked in a law library, so that kind of gave me the idea that I was going to start to go to school for to become a paralegal, to get my certificate through, in which I did through Blackstone Career Institute here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It cost a lot of money, but I used the money that they gave us during the pandemic to
Nice.
apply apply it to that. It cost me roughly about 1,800 altogether, which was about one check. You know what I mean, from the stimulus
Hmm.
check.
Yeah.
So I made good use of the money that I had, and also the opportunity to work in the law library. I, I have a like of helping, people in
Hmm.
this situation, because you know what they're going through. They got families, they got friends, people that want them back home or need them back home. Um, there's a lot of, they have families. They might have a daughter or son that's growing up without them. And so
Hmm.
my job and the way I look at it is try to get people, out of jail. I mean, they're trying to lock them up. I'm trying to get them out.
That's right. That's right. And I like that. And I also like that you mentioned the stimulus checks. A lot of people might have been upset. Let me tell you, I saved my stimulus checks and I was able to get out and put a down payment on a car. A lot of people did not have or were not prepared to leave financially because when you leave prison, you are not, a financial mogul. You are basically starting from scratch. So to have that hand up, I just want to anyone who had a problem with that know that we use those for good, and also people with life sentences that might be the most money they've ever had. So
Yeah,
back to yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, exactly what you're saying is a lot of people saying that, oh, you're just throwing money at people and they're not doing anything positive with it. But I've been in a circumstance and I've seen people and they've done everything positive with it. It ain't like they
Yeah,
just bought commissary with it. They bought careers with it. They bought,
you brought a career with it.
right, and they bought, books to learn more, and they saved it so that when they got out, they had money to put down on a house or a car.
Hmm.
And that's the point that I wanted to address there.
Well, I'm so impressed that you got your paralegal, and we were talking previously about someone that you were able to get out 5 years early. Now, I was able to do a little prison lawyering myself and help someone get out early, but this is impressive. Tell us about it.
Well, a guy came to me. His name is Jamal. He was in the Commonwealth Court. He tried to dispute his green sheet. His green sheet said that, hey, you're not
And
even
the
up for
green sheet
parole.
is,
Um, from the parole board saying that you either are going to go home or you are going to get a hit. And on his green
which is a
sheet was
setback where you would have to do more time.
correct. Yeah, you would
Okay.
have to do another year in in prison. Well, he got one that said that he wasn't eligible for parole yet because, as we all know, that a marshal application could be filed every year, and the parole board has to come and see you. This is pursuant to the law. What happened is that I said we're not going to go into the Commonwealth Court because they'll win. Um, the parole board has the right to recalculate your sentence. So I said, well, let's argue that part of the plea that you negotiated included that 5 years back time that you owed, and the judge agreed to it, and they sentenced you to
And
it.
this is time the gentleman had already served, correct?
Correct. But he served on parole. They wanted to
Mm-hmm.
pull it back and make him do it again. So we filed a PCRA. We got it before the judge, Larry Krasner, the DA here, and Larry Krasner said that, hey, yeah, I agree with you, that that time should be taken off. He called them down and resentenced them, taking off that 5 extra years.
That's nice.
And I told them, while you're there, because we knew that he already had a win. I told him, well, since you didn't get paroled in the last 3 years, I said you should get automatic parole and you should ask him because it's essentially that you got 3 parole hits. So he brought that up also, and they said, yeah, we'll put in a recommendation with the parole board that you get released right away.
So there was 3 different times that this gentleman went to the parole board and got a setback. That's what we call it here in Missouri, is where they set you back and you have to go back a year later or 5 years sometimes, or it's just prolonged to a date way off in the future. So this gentleman had that happen to him 3 times, and you were able to get him out. What a blessing!
Yes, it was.
If I can just add a footnote, I wasn't familiar with this story, but just listening to it for the viewers, Larry Krasner has been the DA in Philadelphia for the last, I don't know, 2 election cycles. And he is one of the most, how should I say it, liberal DAs in the country. He has allowed people who are convicted of life sentences to review their files where typically they weren't allowed to see them. Under his special unit,
Keep
he's,
going.
he's been able to release a bunch of prisoners who were found innocent. And he's a lightning rod here in Philadelphia. A lot of people either love him or they hate him. And to find out that Robert litigated when Larry Krasner was a judge, to me, just speaks volumes. I'm happy to hear that story.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Now, Dave, back to you in the book. Tell us some of the fundamentals, of the book.
Well, the whole idea of finding a pro bono attorney is, justice shouldn't be a luxury. And for so many people here in Philadelphia and, around the country,
Mhm.
justice is a barrier. It's not a luxury. We're trying to break that down. And we got the proof in the pudding with a lot of the people we've been able to help. We have 86 or more 5-star Google reviews from people. And Robert has already worked on a handful of cases that we've gotten results for people. In fact, Robert will tell you that one case is Stephen Palmer. He's currently incarcerated and has a hearing coming up January 14th. I've been helping assist him and his family for probably 2 years. But Robert will tell the story how he just got him a specialized accommodation inside prison because he's a disabled inmate. Robert, if you want to discuss that, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Please tell us about it.
Mr. Palmer, he was on a Z code. I don't know if they have Z codes out where you are.
No, you'll have to explain it to us.
That means you get a single cell.
Okay.
So the man had a single cell because he had several gunshot wound injuries, and it was a necessity for him to have a single cell because Not to get deep into his story, he had medical issues that, you know, we'll just say
Prevented
that
him
he
from being in a
was
wet cell with someone else.
right, and so that they
Okay.
didn't, want
Let me just
to.
stop. We always have to explain to the audience. So a wet cell is a cell with a bathroom in it. And sometimes when you have certain disabilities, you can't share a cell like that with someone else. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Are
it
we on
does.
the same page? Okay, so it looks like we might have lost Robert for a second. So Dave, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah,
Oh,
Robert's
okay, Robert's back.
Hello, I don't know if I'm on. All right, so
Yeah, you're on. We were just talking about the gentleman who needs his own cell.
okay, yeah. So the gentleman needed the cell for himself, and what happened is that they took it from him because they felt that he had filed a grievance for someone and he was helping them out, moving them forward, and so they retaliated against him and took it. So then they placed him in with another guy, and this gentleman believed that they did that to get him in a fight with a person because they didn't get along, and they moved him in the cell with a person he didn't get
Yes,
along with.
and
So what
that's
I
absolutely
did,
right.
I called up the deputy superintendent. First, I tried to call the unit manager and the counselors, and they didn't answer their phone. Um, so then I called the deputy superintendent. She answered the phone, and I said, "Well, the matter is a matter of public health. You can't have somebody with problems, with their bowels, as you would say, in a cell with someone else, because that person that he's in with is going to be exposed to any type of hazardous material,
Mhm.
and and that's not good."
He's in the halfway house, so I'm sure the internet's probably spotty.
Yeah, yeah. And that's just okay. But I love the work you're doing. I love that you are that you're still reaching back into the facility, although you have this civil side. So how does it feel to be able to, how is it to juggle civil and criminal?
Well, I can tell you, my days are like a deck of cards unfolding. I tried to get systems in order and things in place, and I'm using software and a lot of technology. But every day is and
Something different?
something different. It's an influx of hearing people's stories, like you said, on the civil side, a lot of domestic cases, it could be protection from abuse, divorce, all manners of cases. So Robert's back. There is a noise in the
Yeah,
background.
Robert, you've got a little feedback, but Robert, just tell us real quick about the gentleman you were able to, after you made the phone calls, what happened? Oh, I don't know if he can hear us.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can you
Robert,
hear
I'm
us, Robert? I
okay.
think, I think he
Yeah,
just
Robert
muted.
went ahead and muted himself. Do you know the rest of the story, Dave?
Yeah, Mr. Palmer, who's now thankfully got his single cell
Hello.
status back. So
Good, good.
um, that's pretty much the end of the story. And it's not an easy thing to do in the PA Department of Corrections to
Yeah, yeah.
obtain a Z code single cell for somebody because housing is always an issue with out.
Oh, of course, in any facility. But that speaks to a larger issue of the medical malpractice, is what I will call it, that takes place in prison. And sometimes medical decisions are being made by unqualified staff because it seems as though this cell designation was based upon a disability, something having to do with a medical issue. So for staff to take it into their hands, which happens all the time because of the power and control, you might end up with someone in a fight, someone getting killed. You just don't know what you set people up for when you interfere with their medical treatment. We just lost a lovely woman here in Missouri, Deborah Dillard. She was riddled with cancer, and they let me find the right word. Conveniently found it when it was stage 4.
That happens all the time in Pennsylvania too. The medical
Yes.
care is just so delayed and so inappropriate. There's a lot of stories like that I don't like to hear. But one of the reasons I brought Sherry into the podcast is she has a home healthcare background for 20
Oh,
years,
nice.
and she's able to sometimes listen to the inmate's story and offer some tips on how to approach medical and things like that. And also, before the podcast ends, I wanted Robert to talk about his interview with a local judge here in Philadelphia. We're excited about this potential opportunity for him to work for a Philadelphia municipal court judge.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. So, Robert, after serving 21 years and being out just a short period of time, you've interviewed with a circuit court judge. Yes, tell us all about it. Take yourself off mute.
Hey, so it was actually a good feeling. A woman that was, her name is Sapo Fulton. She seen that I was having a hard time, like I said, finding employment. So she decided to go ahead and look at some of her personal contacts. And one of her personal contacts had sent her an email that a judge was looking for a clerk. So she forwarded me that email and said, hey, why don't you put in a resume to this person? Because this person is looking for people that are judicially, in the system and has an idea of what the system is. And so what I did is I put in my resume. On the resume landed, and she came up and she interviewed me. We spent like an hour doing the interview. Um, and after the interview, she gave me a call back and said that she appreciated my candor, and um, there's several other candidates obviously that she's going to go through, and now I'm waiting to see what's going to happen there.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I like the presence of mind that she wants someone, or that the position is interpreted by your experience, and that they're
Correct.
looking for someone with a lived experience. But that's something that an academic can't provide. You can go to college all day long, but you're never going to learn the skills that you learn inside. You're never going to be able to attack the criminal justice system until you've really been inside of it. Would you agree?
I agree. This woman, she's newly elected into a magistrate's position. Her name is Sherry Cohen. Um, she is the nicest person I think I've met since I've been out, besides Dave and Sherry. Um, they're really, these people, Dave, Sherry, and the judge's name is also Sherry, um, are really, valuable assets to have. A lot of people don't have any assets when they come out of prison. People
Mhm.
shun them. They slam doors on them. They, talk about them behind their back. They do all the things that normal society, does when they think that a
You're
person
not
might.
worthy. That's what
Exactly.
they think. And they slam that door. Speaking of slamming doors, check out my TEDx. Are you opening doors or are you closing them? Thanks for the shout out, Robert. Didn't even know you were giving it, did you? There you go. But, and that's so true, that people are slamming doors and faces and places and people that they have no idea what they're capable of. So
Exactly.
I wish.
And
Mhm.
I'm glad I had this opportunity here. It's like a lot of
Oh,
times
absolutely.
we get no opportunities, but I'm seeming to be getting some opportunities, and that's great.
That's right. That's right. Poor Mr. Peoples, he's going through it today in this. He cannot find a place for this podcast, and I understand it. I've been in places like that where you get limited privacy, but just know that you're moving towards something different, which is housing. Tell me a little bit about that, Dave.
Yeah,
We're looking to get him out of the halfway house. That's
yeah.
right.
We met with Robert's parole agent. He did an investigation of the residence, and it has to go up the chain of command and be approved. It could be as early as Monday or next week. and then Robert will get out of that ungodly mini prison he's in, and he can experience, what freedom is really like out here. He's been on a few passes and he's got a taste of it, but he's basically still in a bunk in quarantine until he finds and gets a place that's approved. And that's a monumental thing to overcome when you
Yeah.
get out of prison after 21 years and you have limited family support. Society doesn't want to extend a hand to people, who have been incarcerated. So housing is a terrible issue, and
Oh my gosh.
this is something that we're very happy to be able to help at least one person get out of there.
Unfortunately, it is not just a problem in Pennsylvania, it's a problem here. I was turned down for housing and I was moving my parents. So it was my father, my mother, and myself. I have a full-time job. They're both retired. All the income you could ever imagine coming through this household. And because of my criminal background, they had no problem denying us. So they not only turned me down, they turned down my whole family. And you were talking about tapping into a network when you get out. If it wasn't for the network that I had, I wouldn't live where I live today.
And yeah, I mean, we've been following your rise from the ashes since the beginning, and
Yes.
you're doing big things, and that's why I always come back to your podcast. And we've been in contact with you, and now Robert is part of your network.
That's right.
Sherry's part of your network, and this is what we're trying to do is break these barriers down, because justice shouldn't be a luxury, and when you've served your time and you've been designated as suitable to re-enter society, you shouldn't be languishing in these mini prisons.
That's right. That's right. And that's often the only option if you don't have outward support or if you don't have money. And even if you have money, like I just said, sometimes it doesn't matter. You've got to keep on knocking because the doors will get closed. But let me tell you, another one will open. Another one will open. Robert, thank you for coming on. Do you want to tell us anything before we get off here?
Yeah, I would like to express that, maybe through Dave and Sherry and myself. I'm trying to start up a program called the Navigators, and I touched base a little bit with Dave and give him a little outline of it. What it is that it will be a website that deals with people that are still incarcerated. They can go and it will explain law from arrest until commutation. And I have several people for each area of that law, people that have expertise in there. I have several people that have commutation, that have actual innocent, and they want to write articles and whatnots on how to put it together for the person that's trying to file for, say, commutation or trying to file for parole, uh, how to line up their parole package so everything looks good for them, how to line up. And each person has gotten out. It isn't that they're still in doing it because, you hear about in prison that people, oh yeah, you can go to this person and such, and they'll do your application, and then the person never goes nowhere. But these people have consistently got people to where they needed to go, and so I'm trying to start that program up and get it on
Nice.
as a website, and that's what it'll be called, the Navigators.
I love that. So you're going to be filming tutorials or tutorials that are going to teach inmates how to take care of their own legal defense, or at least how to be knowledgeable. That is something that we need.
Exactly.
That is something that we need. Dave, tell us one more time about that book.
Yes, the book, Where to Find a Pro Bono Lawyer. It's in 2 prisons in Pennsylvania right now. We'd like to get it in all the prisons around the country. That's a tall order. But hey, gives us something to work at. We're trying.
Absolutely.
It works if you work it. And
that's what they say.
I'd like to see success stories like hopefully Robert and yourself And so there's many more people that need access to the information that's in the book.
Well, we want to make sure that we get that book out there. So if you're watching, purchase the book. You can find it in any major outlet. And is it online as well? I think we froze, David. So look for the book. Look for the book. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you, Robert, Sherry, Dave. You're going to have to come back on.
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate you.
No problem. Take care. Dave, are you still froze? Oh, you're still frozen.
I don't think so.
Well, tell us one more time how to find the book.
The book can be found on writersrebranding.com and all the major retailers, Barnes and Noble.
Okay. Well, go to your local Barnes and Noble and pick up that book. Robert, all the best of luck to you on your job. And Sherry, thanks for coming on. Take care.